So didn't you see any red flag?
Exactly. That is the question I've always had to answer.
Because there must have been red flags.
Yes. In fact, he was a walking red billboard, as I would say right now. He randomly mentions that, oh, do you know I didn't sign my actual signature on the certificate? Sister calls me up on the phone one day and says, this list is too much. In fact, I've done the calculation and it's almost 1 million. During his sister's wedding, that's the sister who called me. During his sister's wedding, it cost them just 120,000. And he started telling me how a certain prophet told him things, how I was the one holding him back from progressing. I had to ask him, who are these people you're talking to, and how do they know me so well that they have so much to say about me? And he said, if you're going to prove it to me that you're not going to do anything or you're not going to destroy my life, are you going to sign off this child the same way you signed off the first one? They sent me to a convent in Owerri. So I had that baby in that convent, and that is part of what they do.
They take babies?
Yes. The girls in that convent are all pregnant. So there's one of two things.
Are we sure it's not the baby factory?
It's a baby factory.
Hello viewers, welcome to another exciting episode of Echoes with Flo. I'm your host Florence Oketona, and today we're going to be talking about a topic that people hardly want to discuss, and that is divorce. Today I have with me in the studio Hazel, who is going to be telling her divorce stories. And we have Barrister Ebunoluwa Adejokun, who is going to be telling us the legal aspects of divorce. At Echoes with Flo, we tell stories of women, stories of pain, stories of survivors, stories of transformation, stories of healing and resilience. And today is not going to be an exception. So I'm welcoming Hazel to the studio. I'm welcoming Barrister Ebunoluwa Adejokun. And I want our viewers to fasten their seatbelt and stay tuned. Hazel, I'm going to be starting with you.
Okay.
I want to ask you a question. How did it feel? Can you take us back to the beginning when you first got married? How was it? How was the feeling and everything? Did you envisage any failure of the union?
I would say yes. Sadly, yes, because I didn't have those butterflies. I've read a lot of stories. I've had friends who got married before me, and I've watched people. There's that exceeding joy. There's the butterflies. There's that fairy tale moment.
Wow.
I didn't have that because the person I was getting married to ruined everything.
How? Please, can you tell us how you
yeah, so up from the traditional marriage to the wedding day, on the day of the traditional marriage, he came more than 2 hours late.
Wow.
Yeah, so my makeup was already done, and my mom comes into the room and says, what's going on? Everybody's calling your husband's people and they've not come and they're not answering their phones. And I was in shock, like, they've not come?
Wow.
Because, of course, in Igbo tradition, you know that the bride has nothing to do until they've finished the negotiations, and then they just call you in to ask you to identify the person. Are you sure this is him? They would have done everything, and then you come out for the outing, the major ceremony where you're dancing and all of that. So it was surprising for my mom to come in and tell me they had not even shown up.
Wow, but sorry to just cut you. Before the day, before the traditional wedding day, did you have any altercation? Did you have any arguments? Or was there any cold feet? Did you develop a cold feet before the day?
There were many arguments. There was a lot of back and forth between me and his family, him and me, and there was all of that. Okay, it started with his sisters, giving conditions.
Wow.
My dad said he wanted the traditional marriage to be here in our family house in Barkiladi. And they were saying, no, we are traditional people. We have to go to the village.
Wow.
And my dad said, there's nothing I'm going to the village to do. So there was already that back and forth. They wanted to force us to go to the village, and my dad was standing his ground and saying no. The next back and forth had to do with the list of things. There's a list my family would give to the man's family.
Yes.
And his sister calls me up on the phone one day and says, this list is too much. Oh. In fact,
Wow.
I've done the calculation and it's almost 1 million.
And that was which year?
This was 2021.
Wow.
And I just responded and said, I think you should speak to my dad about it. I'm not sure you should be having this conversation with me. Okay? And she said, you two should put in a word. This thing is too much. And shortly after that call, her brother, that's the person I'm supposed to be getting married to, also begins to tell me how, it's too much. During his sister's wedding, that's the sister who called me, during his sister's wedding, it cost them just 120,000.
Wow.
And I had to ask him,
What year was
this? And what year are we in? He said it was somewhere in 2008 or so. And I'm like, you cannot compare that time to now.
No.
Like, the standard of living is different. And from everything I know about my dad was that kind of really minimalistic person. He wasn't extravagant. So I knew he had cut down a lot of things. I'm the only daughter from an Igbo family.
Wow.
So I know the stories. I know what it's like to marry an only daughter from Umuahia. I'm from Umuahia, so I know what it's like. So I knew that my dad had gone to lengths because I even knew he had a few altercations with some of his relatives over the whole thing. And because he's like, I'm not selling this girl off. Why are you people bringing some? I don't drink palm wine, for example, because on the list they sent from the village, there were 30 kegs of palm wine.
Wow.
And he's asking them who is going to be drinking 30 kegs of palm wine, So I knew that there were a lot that he had. So, and then now this back and forth of, this and that. So yes, before the traditional wedding, there was already that back and forth. But on his part, he was still giving me assurance, don't worry, I know my people are just trying to be funny. Don't worry, I'm still going to do this. So it was kind of shocking when more than 2 hours after the time that was fixed for negotiations, they had not even shown up.
Wow. So we can say that the union, the foundation had cracks.
Exactly.
It had cracks.
Yeah.
So, but let's talk about after the wedding, after the ceremonies. When did you realize that something wasn't working? Was it immediately? Was there a honeymoon time after all those altercations? Were there times that you both were really happy, you now began to love each other and all that? Was it when did you realize that something wasn't working?
On the honeymoon night already.
Barrister Ebun, can you hear that?
Yeah. Yeah, so when we got to the hotel, he randomly mentions that, do you know I didn't sign my actual signature on the certificate?
Wow.
Oh, yes. Wow. And I'm like, why? What happened? He saw the look on my face and he immediately, corrected himself and said, I came late. I was under pressure. I forgot.
I want us to ask Barrister
wasn't
Ebun
making sense,
the implication of that. Sorry to cut you, Hazel. Please, Barrister Ebun, can you tell us from the legal perspective, what is the implication of not signing your exact signature on
He
the
was
marriage
never
certificate?
married to you.
Oh, so sad.
Yeah. So there was that shock. I already had that moment of shock. But since I've known myself, I've had this commitment to myself that if I'm going to get married, I'm going to get it right and I'm going to stay married. So I just kind of said, okay, maybe we can fix this. Is there a way we can get to court and see how we're going to sort this out? And then because we got married in an Anglican church, so normally what they do is they give you a certificate that you go back to court with, where you're supposed to now do the court proceedings. And he kept telling me, oh no, my sister said there's no need for that and we just need an affidavit. And he called one of his lawyer friends too, who said it didn't matter, and there was a lot of back and forth. And he said, okay, let's just go and do the affidavit. I think that should cover for it.
So you did the affidavit?
Yeah, but somewhere along the line, that affidavit also went missing.
Barrister Ebun, I want you to come in at this juncture. Of all this, from the legal perspective, all this affidavit getting missing, the issue of not taking the certificate to court, and what are the legal implications of such
You know,
an
you can't
happens
put
that-
something on nothing.
Yeah.
The marriage didn't start at all.
Okay.
And
So we
there
can
was
just
already a negative intention.
we can safely put it that it started on a very, very wrong footing.
Yes.
Well,
Did you even start?
Yeah, so exactly. But you know, somewhere in my mind, I said, okay, at least we still went to church. Everybody saw us. I still felt, okay, we could make this thing work. And possibly somewhere he would have a change of heart and we could still go to court and get this thing.
Was there any
fixed.
bans, marriage bans?
There was none.
Then which court, in quotes, did it get married?
No, we didn't go. We didn't
They
go
didn't
to
go
any
to
court.
court.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
We
so
finally
it was-
didn't
You
go
said
to
it
any
now
court.
that you
Yes.
didn't
You
go to
finally
court.
didn't do
Yeah,
the
we
court.
didn't do any courts, anything.
You
No.
didn't go to any local government, any
No.
marriage registry.
No.
well, according to Nigerian law and according to Nigerian law, were they married?
Depends on the kind of certificate the church gave.
Oh, all right,
Anglican
all right.
Church has the right to give.
Let's move on from here. I just want to ask you that, okay, after all these ones, or after all the don't take the certificate to court, don't do this, don't do that, and all those, was there anything you were also struggling with? Or was there a moment where everything died down and you really had a good, you really had a proper and real marriage with him?
None of that happened.
Wow.
Yes, it was from one issue to the other. So when this whole, whether we're going to court or not, just kind of tapered down, I settled back into my life. I was working. I work from home, so it wasn't like I needed to do anything out of the ordinary. But he went to his village first. He said he needed to go to his village for a funeral. So that was where, while he was at his village for that funeral, there was a lot of back and forth still from his village. His sisters said I reduced my age to marry him. There was always talk of what somebody said, what people said. I didn't have any peace.
He said, she said.
Exactly. There's always he said, she said. There was no moment of peace, no moment of just me settling down to at least, phew, okay, now maybe I can have a breather. It wasn't just happening. It was one abuse after verbal abuse, emotional abuse, psychological abuse. He was always making issues out of nothing. Even when there's nothing to make issues out of, he was making issues. For example, he started discussing doing a ginger farm with my mom. I had no idea about that. They were planning to do a ginger farm because my mom has landed space, and whatever it was that was going on, eventually that went south. I don't know what happened between both of them, but they had an altercation, him and my mom, and it backfired on me.
Wow.
He said it was what I told my parents about him that was making my parents to disrespect him. And the question was, what exactly did I tell my parents? Like, at least break it down. Like, I need to know, because I can't just call my parents and start questioning them or harassing them. Oh, why did you do this to my husband? I don't even know what they did to you. He says my mom insulted his business. Okay, what did she say exactly? She said business, my foot. Okay, is that what she said? What brought about that? What were you guys discussing? Because if I have to handle my family, I would need to know what happened, what transpired before I can just say, okay, this is that, this or this is that. And he said he just knows his intuition is right. It must have been what I told my parents that is making them disrespect him. Even my brother is disrespectful of him. I say, my brother too. You know, so it was one thing after the other. How his sister said this, his other sister said that. I was constantly fighting for my life. Like, I was fighting to save my name in all of this.
Wow.
And one of those days I said, do you realize that we are married? Like, it's me and you, and can we just ignore the world and focus on what is in front of us? The next he said, I want to cut him off from his family. Cut you off from your family? How?
I think I need to ask you this, Hazel. Listening to all the things that transpired from the wedding day, even up to the time that maybe you both decided to go your separate ways, did you, before the wedding dates, did you have any relationship? Did you date? Did you guys date?
Exactly.
Yeah, we dated.
For how long?
For more than a year, because I met him in December 2019. And so for pretty much the whole of 2020, we were dating.
So didn't you see any red flags?
Exactly. That is the question I've always had to answer.
Because there must have been red flags.
Yes. In fact, he was a walking red billboard, as I would say right now. Okay, so this is one thing I would have to say. And I've been talking to some of my friends one-on-one who also have similar issues. Maybe they're with a guy and something. And I'm putting it out there for whoever will be listening to this video. There's something called toxic optimism. It's good to be optimistic, but it can be toxic.
Wow.
Yeah, so I had a lot of that toxic optimism.
Can you break it down?
Yeah, so now what toxic optimism is, you're very believing. Now, we know that optimism is when you believe that good is going to happen,
Yes.
things are going to get better.
Yeah.
That's optimism. But when it's toxic, is that even when it is staring you in the face, you're still insisting. It's just like telling me you're putting your hand over fire. And
it's not going to
it's
burn you.
burning you already. No, not just that. It's already burning you. And for some reason, you're saying, oh, no, it's going to get better. Somehow my hand is going to turn to ice. And it's going. That is toxic optimism.
Yeah.
This is fire. Don't put your hand over it. So I had that toxic optimism that, okay, maybe because, over the course of my life, I've had a lot of toxic and traumatic experiences. Which I wrote a book. If I had to write a book, so I documented a lot of those experiences in my book. So I had a lot of trauma. And one of the things that trauma did to me was I got to that point where I felt maybe everybody is right about me. Maybe I am too judgmental. Maybe I'm too particular to detail because I'm a very attentive person. I can pick up on details. I can walk into a room and I feel the energy and I know it's off. And many times I'm in circles and people are like, your own is too much. So I got to that point where I was saying, okay, maybe these people are right. My own is actually too much. I should tone it down. So when I met this guy, I felt maybe I should just give him a chance. Wow. I had reached that point of toxic optimism. And I also was suffering from what my therapist told me was savior's complex. Yeah, I also had a savior's complex. In psychology, it's when you think you can save everybody. Yeah, so with seeing the red flags, with experiencing some really toxic behavior, I still had that toxic optimism. Oh, if I can just talk to him a lot more, if I can pray for him, if I can model what I want, we say that. I've heard it, model your behavior. You don't model for an adult. You model behavior for children.
For children, yeah.
Not for adults. These are grown people. They should have known whatever it is they want to know. So I had that toxic optimism. I had the savior's complex. So for me, it was like, maybe I should just give him a chance. Possibly he hasn't been loved hard enough.
So you needed to love him harder.
So yeah, I needed to love him harder. I needed to show him what it's like to. So I stayed on. I held on with the hopes, that hope, that light at the end of the tunnel, which of course didn't come because there's no way it can't come. You can't be in a dungeon and there will be light. Yeah.
Well, that must have been really tough. At what point did you now get to a situation where you said, no, I can't do this anymore? Because prior to this question, I would have asked you a question, but I know that maybe because from what you said, you were not under any pressure at home to get married.
No.
Were you?
No, not directly anyway.
Yeah.
So not directly. So my parents were missionaries. So if you know a lot about missionaries, there's a lot of training that goes into missions where they do a lot of reverse psychology. That is one of the major ways they're able to win souls.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this to castigate anybody. Let's not get it wrong. I don't have any hard feelings. I've come to terms. I've made my peace with a lot of it. So I'm not trying to castigate anybody or demonize anybody, but it is just the truth of the way many of these people operate. There's a lot of subtle coercion that happens in missions. Yeah. That kind of, this thing seeps into their personalities. It becomes a part of them. So my parents were those kind of people, okay? They wouldn't tell you directly, go and marry, like I've heard.
But they'll be
telling
you about some of your friends.
Exactly.
Who now have 5 children.
As the Gen Z will say, there will be signs.
So
there was that pressure, though not direct, but there was that pressure of,
Yeah.
so it was there. It was constant. There was that subtle reminder. Like there's this one I want to make. I want to talk about. There was this idea I wanted. I was trying to apply for a grant. This was somewhere in 2017, I think. So I was trying to apply for this grant, and I had put my model together and everything, and I showed it to my dad, and he just told me directly, this is not what you should be thinking about now. You should be thinking about getting married. And how your vision will align with your husband's own. I didn't even have a boyfriend that time.
So there was subtle pressure.
Okay.
So let's agree there was subtle pressure.
Yeah.
And which is very typical of African parents.
Uh-huh.
So at what point did you make up your mind that you've had enough? What was the breaking point? There's also always a balance. I think it's an English balance that says the last straw that broke the camel's back. What was the last straw?
So the last straw, I was pregnant with my daughter already.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was not letting back. He was not, toning down on the verbal assault and every other kind of abuse. And on this particular day, it was, on the 12th of February, 2022, I had it up till here. Like I was full of all he was doing. But what actually broke the camel's back was he came back from wherever he went to and started telling me how a certain prophet told him things, how I was the one holding him back from progressing, and this and that. And there was a long sermon, on all of that. But all of that, I had to ask him, who are these people you're talking to, and how do they know me so well that they have so much to say about me? And he said, if you're going to prove it to me that you're not going to do anything or you're not going to destroy my life, in fact, because he even said you're going to use our children against me. So if you're going to prove that, are you going to sign off this child the same way you signed off the first one?
Oh, you signed off a first child?
No, not the way he's saying it. So this is not part of the discussion. But in 2010, I had a baby. I had a son.
With him?
No, not with him.
All
I only met him in 2019. So when I was in school, 2009, I had this boyfriend and we got in a relationship. I got pregnant and his son resulted from that baby. Now, in between the time I was pregnant and I had that baby, my parents were not having it. And my parents forced me to give the baby up for adoption.
Oh my God.
Yes. So and this is not a story I had shared. It was something that was very sore. It was a sore topic for me. But when I was going to marry him, I told him about it because I had told him I had a son, but of course I didn't give him details. So when it was obvious we're getting married, I broke it down.
Okay, you actually sat him down.
I sat him down and told him this is what happened. This is actually how everything played out with my son. And yes, I gave him up. I had to sign the adoption papers, but somehow I was able to maneuver some, details here and there. And the baby's father was able to come get his son.
Wow.
Yes. So, and that is where now that is a very sore point in my life. And that was the point he still pressed. Wow. He said, if you want me to believe you, will you sign this one off the way you signed off the first one?
He wanted you to sign off the unborn baby?
Yes. And
to him?
Yes. And the question I asked him was, what exactly are you talking about? Wow. Did I sign off any child to anybody? Or did you forget the circumstances? Or did you forget what I told you? He doesn't care. All he's saying, I will have to prove to him that I'm not this, I'm not that. And at that point, I had tuned out, so I didn't hear a lot of what he was saying, but I was in shock. I was in so much shock. Like, how can he use the most painful experience of my life to get back at me now?
That's so sad.
So that was the breaking point for me. At that point, I knew that I had to get away from this person.
So you were still pregnant when you left?
Yes, I was still pregnant when I left.
All right. So, Barrister Boom, I want you to talk more on this signing off because I'm hearing it for the first time. What does it entail? Can you just have a baby and sign? What is the legal implication of forcing her to sign off the baby for adoption?
First, I would like to say that sorry for all you've gone through.
So sorry about that.
Thank you.
Because these two stories are very, very emotional and they are very painful.
Yeah.
But you see, they love illegal things that happen in Nigeria.
Yeah, I think so.
And a lot of things that people just say and they just do and nobody's picking on it. There's nothing like signing off a child. There are adoption processes. There are processes to adopt a child, and there are processes to give up a child for adoption.
Wow.
It's not just saying I decide to sign off a child. And I was thinking of asking the question: how old were you in 2010 when this happened?
Yes.
I was 22.
22.
So she was an
So
adult.
you were already able to make a decision as
Yes.
to what you wanted, but
Yes.
because of the pressure, you didn't want to go on with it, or were you forced?
No, I was actually forced because the when I say forced, like I said, I had to document everything. The part of my healing journey has been to document everything in my book. What my parents did to make sure that happened, they sent me to a convent in Owerri.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had that baby in that convent, and that is part of what they do.
Wow.
Yes,
They take babies.
yes. The girls in that convent are all pregnant, so there's one of two things. You're
Are we
either
sure it's not the baby factory?
It's a baby factory.
So that's part of what they do. So you're there, while you're there, you sign an undertaking and all of that.
Just
And
can you take us through the undertaking? What if you can get a sentence or two from what you're signing?
Okay, so what you're signing is your name, and the date. Hereby swear that I will give up this child and I will not be asking for him again. Like, that's the first sentence I remember, because the rest of that I was crying. It was
Definitely,
tears.
that's very illegal.
So that's the first part. And my dad had to sign, because when we got to that convent, it was my mom who took me there, and the Reverend Sister asked her what we were doing with the baby. I said, I'm keeping my baby, because I didn't understand the question. Like, what do you mean? What are you doing with the baby? I said, I'm keeping my baby. And my mom was simultaneously saying, we're giving the baby up for adoption. It was sitting at that registration table. I knew what had happened behind my back, that there had been a family meeting and this is what had been decided. So, and then the Reverend Sister says, oh, if that's happening, her father would also have to come and sign. So I don't know what my dad signed, because there were two different books. One was given to me, one was given to him, and then there was a book that both of us signed together. We just signed at the bottom. That one, it was already typed.
Wow.
Yeah, so
I think
that was, and then
we have gone. What you just said now has taken us far away from our discussion, but honestly, I don't really mind, because a lot of things are going on in Nigeria that the government actually needs to look into.
yes.
Because this is something that is so traumatic. I just want to ask you, how were you able to manipulate that the father was able to get his child?
Yeah.
Okay, so after signing those documents, I couldn't sleep anymore. Like,
Wow.
I was constantly crying.
Had you given birth to the baby?
No, I
or-
was still pregnant.
All right,
Yes, I was
all
still
right.
pregnant. So I didn't know what else to do. So I started scheming to run away from the convent.
Oh well.
And coincidentally, the driver of the Reverend Sisters was from Plateau State here. I had heard him on the phone speaking Hausa. So one day when I saw him alone, I walked up to him and I spoke Hausa to him. And he was like, oh, you're my sister, in Hausa we got talking. So with all the chit chat, he warmed up to me, and then I told him point blank, this is how I want you to help me, because there's no way to get out of that place. The fences are really high. There's a gate and a security man, so you can't just walk out. It's not a place you can just walk out of. Okay. So I told him, I want to run away from this place, and you're going to help me. Now he tells me, oh, okay, that's fine. The sisters are going for a 1-week convention. They wouldn't be here. Wow. I would help you to run away. Anyway, he snitched.
Still snitched.
Yes, he went and snitched. So instead of me running away, the Reverend Sister came back from their convention, one of them, and she called me and asked me why I wanted to run away. And I told her why I wanted to run away. I said, I can't give my baby up for adoption. Like, I cannot imagine not knowing where my baby is.
Yeah.
I want this baby. The father wants this baby. So I can't just imagine why I should be giving this baby up for adoption. And she asked me, so what do you want? I said, if I can get accommodation after here, I don't want to go back home. If I can get accommodation somewhere, I would stay with my baby. And she says, no, this is Owerri. You're too young. You're not going to survive on the streets of Owerri.
Wow.
So what else? Is there another option? And then I say, okay, let's call the baby's father and hear if he's going to be able to come get his son. Is that a possibility? She said yes. And she calls him and he says, yes, he's going to come and get his son. So yes, that's how we're able to manipulate it. But the catch there too was that when he came to get his son, he wasn't just handed his son. He was made to pay the adoption fees as well.
This is
Adoption
serious.
fees.
Yes.
This is really
Okay,
serious.
so I would like to ask at this point that, because when this goes out into the public space, people would say at 22, you are able to make decisions,
Yes.
you're able to fend for yourself,
Yeah.
you're able to run away, you're able to leave your home in Plateau State
Yes.
to go to anywhere in Nigeria or anywhere in the world.
Yes.
So why did you still allow your parents, because legally, you're already free
Yes.
from
Maybe
them.
financial constraints.
So why did you still allow them take so much decision?
I was the typical good daughter.
All right.
Oh,
Let's start there. I was always I think I was one person that held on very tightly to that Ephesians 6:1-3. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. It was one scripture my dad held over our heads when we were growing up, and I think I internalized it so much that for me, disobeying my parents would mean I was not going to live long. My life
make
was not going
heaven.
to be good. I was not going to make heaven. So it goes back to a lot of conditioning from
Previous
yes,
issues,
yes, previous
previous
issues,
trauma.
conditioning from when I was much younger. So at 22, it didn't occur to me that I could just. I was still in school when I found out I was pregnant. So of course I could have stayed back in Bauchi. I was schooling in Bauchi, so I could have stayed back in Bauchi, for
To
example,
go ahead with that.
to go ahead with whatever it was. But it didn't even occur to me that I could just stay back here and life could go on. I went home
untold.
and I told them, and they took every decision from there, hand to hand to hand. So I was following them every step of the way. I couldn't even when I tried to speak up for myself, I was shut down, and I was told severally that I have done something very abominable.
Sacrilege.
So I had no rights to anything. I had no rights to speak. I had no rights to make any decisions at this point. So yes, I was legal, but I didn't
was not
have
legal.
exactly. But I still
She was legal, but she was not
legal.
legal.
Yeah,
And I
you-
didn't have the emotional strength to stand up to them.
So let's get back to your marriage.
Yeah.
He was saying, were you willing to sign off the child? And then you left. How hard was it? Because, with the background story of your son and everything, I kind of know the kind of people your parents are or were. I don't know whether they're still here with us. But how difficult or how hard was it for you to convince them to return back home from your marriage?
Okay, now the thing is that it wasn't even difficult to convince them. Maybe I would say, as funny as it might sound now, I think they were happy to have me back home.
Oh, that's
Your parents.
That's
Yes.
strange. Coming from a kind of background that said you
Yes,
could
now
not have a child. That
yes. Now you
wedlock.
see, when you many times for you to see a picture clearly, you have to take a step back.
Yes.
You can't really see a picture clearly if you're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So that's what has happened to me over the course of these years. Initially, it would look like they're supportive, but when you step back a little and you look at how everything played out, you would see that there's still a lot of manipulation and control from their part. Now, for them, to the society, they had gotten that marriage. Everybody had seen, oh, my daughter has gotten married.
That's good for them.
So it's good for their image. Whatever happens after that, and marriages fail after all, So there wasn't any problem about me going back home, because when I decided I couldn't take this anymore, and I didn't know what this guy was planning with this issue of me signing up a baby to him, I actually sent my mom a message and told her she should come get me. And they came, she and my dad came, and they took me back home. And it was looking like, yeah, everything is fine, it's okay, don't worry, we'll support you. But it wouldn't take long for the cracks to show again.
So what were your greatest fears when you got back home? were you judged? Did society judge you? Because I know Africa. I know that in church, among your parents' friends, among your friends, your colleagues,
And family.
your family members,
So
were you judged?
At
were
the beginning, I
were you
wasn't
castigated?
judged. So at the beginning, I wasn't judged because nobody knew my marriage had ended, or my sham marriage had ended. Nobody knew.
It wasn't even up to a year.
No, it was just about 6 months.
Wow.
Yes, just 6 months, very short. So nobody knew. Since I was pregnant, and of course I was having a difficult pregnancy, even those who came to visit and saw me at home just thought, okay, yeah, she's pregnant, she needs the support of her family. You know, it's first pregnancy, so it was understand. Nobody even asked questions. But from the time I had the baby and I was trying to get back to a normal life, the judgment began.
Wow.
From my own family.
Wow.
Yes, they were very hard on me. They were very judgmental. After all, you should have seen the red flags. Look at this, look at that. And there was all the talk back and forth. It was my sister-in-law who had to ask my brother, do you think she's happy her marriage ended? Or do you think this is the time?
Your sister-in-law, as in...
My brother's wife.
All right. I thought it was your husband's...
No, those ones, they don't talk to me. They never bother. Yeah, like, there's no contact, so my brother's wife had to tell my brother, like, do you think she's happy? Do you think she has not thought about all these things? Why are you, reinforcing it? Why are you making her feel worse than she already is? But no, they wouldn't have it. There was all the back and forth. That's how you did this, the reminders
of the child.
The previous child, the reminders of everything they perceive I've ever done wrong. There was a lot of judgment. And when I talked about moving out of the family house, there was more judgment. They were expecting me to just stay back in the family house. And I had to let them know, I can't stay here. You're not living in the city. I have a child that is going to be growing. She will need to go to school. I need to work. I'm working online. The network here is terrible. I'm having problems at work because of bad network. And there's a child that would need to go to school. Am I going to be taking her from school to school from this village to be stressing and all of that? How is it going to work? And there was so much talk. There was a lot of... My brother clearly said I was wanting to move back into town so that I can begin chasing men.
Wow.
Like, of all the things I should be doing in my life now, do you think chasing men is top on my list? I'm fighting for my life. I'm fighting to survive. And here you are talking like this.
I wanted to say something. Was the traditional marriage sealed?
Sealed in what way?
Like, there was actually a traditional marriage.
Yes.
So you can be married in Nigeria in two ways. You can be married under the customary law.
There's also a catch to that.
Yeah.
There's also the thing is, when the thing with traditional marriages in many cultures is that the bride is not involved, right?
Yes.
She's not very involved. She's not
like
she doesn't know what happens. Now, one of the things that this guy I was with constantly used to harass me, he would tell me, you have to do what I say. I married you. I did everything on the list. I paid your bride price. So he kept...
I've bought a cow.
He kept repeating those things over and over again. Yeah. So I got curious. I had to ask my dad, I want to know what exactly was on that list that this guy would not let me rest. And it was over the course of the discussion that I got to know, because we had to go to my uncle's house to discuss this issue.
All right.
He didn't even complete the things on the list.
You can imagine.
Every culture, customs are run by the people under which it applies to, and every culture has their way of getting married. So if what is supposed to do is done it, and the family has agreed that you're married, we cannot say that there is no customary marriage.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying. So there were a lot of things that were still pending on the list, which I was now told at that time that he told them that because he didn't have all the money to do all that, because we got married, that traditional was in September. He said that by December he was going to complete everything.
Oh,
but did he?
No, he did not.
But did they agree to hand you over to him?
Yes, there was that agreement to hand me over. Okay, yes. Yeah. They agreed to hand me over to him
on terms
yes,
permanently.
On terms. On terms. Since he was going to come back
and complete.
But you were already given to him.
Yes. Since he was going to come back and complete these things, okay? And so that was how I got to know that there was this side of the.
He was still owing.
Exactly, he was still owing.
So,
Yeah.
I don't want us to dwell too long on what happened, how did this. I just want us to, moving forward from what happened, how did the journey, have you healed? Let me
Yes.
ask you. So
Pretty
how
much.
did the journey of healing begin? Did you, first of all, castigate yourself? Did you beat yourself, blue, black, and all those things? How did you get your healing?
Yes, there was a lot of self hate at the beginning. I was very critical of myself, because that's the thing with people like me who have a savior's complex. We also hold ourselves to a higher standard. You kind of give yourself that, you place yourself on a sort of pedestal of perfection where you're not expected to fail in certain things. So when you do fail, it's almost difficult to come to terms with it that, hey, you failed, get over it. So 2 things that helped me. Before I finally walked away, I had already voiced out to my sister-in-law, that's my brother's wife, that this is what is going on. And she told me, you will have to see a therapist. This thing what you're dealing with is not, at this point, I think you need to see a therapist. And then I was talking to another friend and I mentioned it to him and he said, this one now was a guy, and he said, oh, my sister went through exactly the same thing. You would have to see a therapist.
So did you see a
So
therapist?
I did see a therapist.
Oh, that's good.
Yes. And the second thing, this issue of forgiving myself, I was randomly watching Pastor Jesse Duplantis one Sunday, and his sermon that Sunday caught my attention. He was talking about forgiveness, but not the general forgiveness. It was forgiving yourself. And he said, if you say you cannot forgive yourself, he said that's the highest form of pride.
Wow.
Because if Jesus has forgiven you, who
Then
are
should
you
forgive
to
yourself?
hold on to?
to not forgive yourself? Are you saying you're more righteous than Jesus? So that was one of the steps in my healing. Like, of course, I'm not more righteous than Jesus. So if Jesus has forgiven me, why can't I forgive myself? And with therapy, I was able to unpack a lot of the traumas I've had to deal with. I had been able to place a name, because that's one of the big ways you can heal. You have to know the name of what you're dealing with. What are you dealing with? Is it anger issues? Is it self-loathing? Is it self-sabotaging? Is it savior's complex, toxic optimism? You have to know what it is.
Wow.
That is the only time. It's basic knowledge, we think. If you go to the hospital and tell the doctor you're sick, what does he do?
He runs a test.
He runs a test. So that's what therapy does for psychological issues. Okay, he runs it just like you go to your medical doctor and say, oh, my head has been paining me for about 3 days now, I'm throwing up. And he says, oh, okay, we need to run a test. And then they tell you, oh, you have 3 pluses of malaria and a little bit of typhoid. This is what we're going to give you.
Wow.
There is a name, malaria, typhoid. You have...
Then it's treated.
Yeah, and it's treated.
Medication for
So there's
it.
medication. It's the same thing. You have to put a name to what it is that has been ailing you. Only then can you know that this is how you're going to deal with it.
So you're trying to tell us that the therapy helped you. Therapy
Yes.
helped you heal faster
Yes.
than you would have. So how did it take a bit longer than you expected, or it was shorter than you expected?
Longer.
Wow.
Yes, longer than I expected. Like, I remember my therapist telling me, your trauma is multifaceted and really deep. So it took longer because there were so many layers to peel back.
Wow. So how do you feel now?
I
Do
feel
you think-
lighter.
Oh, that's good. So is there anything you would like to say to someone who is going through a similar situation than what you went through? Is there something you would like to say to someone out there who is going through a similar issue?
Yes. The first thing I would like to say is there's power in speaking up. Any form of abuse thrives in silence.
Yes.
Many times you will hear things like, oh, don't tell people, be quiet.
Don't
do
tell any
this,
third party.
don't tell third parties. It's not very safe. I know that sometimes it's from a good place because that third party might also be complicating
Issues, yeah.
But it's not always safe to just be quiet because, like I said, even if nobody else knows but you, even I didn't know what I was dealing with. I didn't know how deep these things were. I didn't know what exactly I was dealing with. Because even with my own traumas, there were things I couldn't handle. There were reactions I had that were not also right. Sometimes when I'm trying to fight back, and I'm also trying to stand up for myself. So those reactions also were not right. They were coming from a place of trauma.
Pain.
They were coming from a place of pain. So you need to talk to somebody. I think everybody needs somebody who
talk to.
you can talk to, you can run to and cry. Somebody you can run to and tell, at this point in my life, I'm confused. I don't know what to do. Because it was from speaking up the very first time that I knew that I wasn't just crazy, I wasn't paranoid, and this thing was not just in my head. Because I know there are people you will talk to and they will dismiss it. Every marriage has problems.
Very well.
No, you don't.
It rains everywhere.
Yes, it rains. You don't need those kind. No, those are not the kind of people I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who are balanced, people who have balanced emotions, who can see things practically, not because they are being sentimental or being biased. You need somebody like that in your corner. That is the first step to whatever liberation you're going to get. If I can talk to Sister Florence and tell her, I haven't slept for the past 2 days, and she asked me, why haven't you slept? And I can tell her, this is why I have not slept. And from a practical point, she can tell me, oh, okay, even if she doesn't have the solution, okay, I know
Someone.
I know
does.
Sis Ebun, you can talk to. She knows what to do. And then she would, because my therapist was someone I didn't know. But because I had spoken to somebody about therapy, oh yes, I know a therapist, he's very good at what he does. And that was how I met, because at this point I was looking for, even one of my friends who studied psychology, I had chatted her up and she said, oh, I'm not practicing, I can't help you now.
Wow.
Yes, so that's the kind of thing. So you have to talk to somebody. That is how you would,
That is willing to talk.
yes, somebody who is balanced. And then don't be ashamed. You see, this shame is the only thing that will keep you from stepping from here to there. Whatever it is, don't be ashamed. Yes, the shame would come, but it's not going to last forever.
So, Barrister, I would like you to throw more light on issues of divorce in Nigeria. Are women getting enough support from the courts? Because you are a legal practitioner and you should be able to tell us, for instance, a case like Hazel's own, if they bring it to your court, knowing fully well that she was not married the legal way, and she did not complete the registration in the registry and all that. She only married through a customary law, through the customary law. What support does the court give to people like Hazel?
Okay, so first let me start that. If the customary marriage was duly consummated, or let me not say duly done, you married customarily, then if you tell me sincerely, it's so new to me to hear this.
Wow.
That someone is faking his own signature so that something is not valid. We call it signed, sealed, and delivered. If that is not your signature, it's not signed.
So what if she now takes this kind of case to court? What chances does she stand to be given maybe a fair hearing?
There are different levels of...
We're looking at something that is illegal now. It started illegally, because he didn't sign. If he can go to court and say, oh, this is not my signature, so maybe I was impersonated. What chances does someone like Hazel, what chances does she stand at having a fair hearing? Very good.
This marriage is void ab initio. That's what we'll say.
As in, can she get for instance, can she get child support from such a union or something, or
Okay, so we're talking about
upkeep.
We're talking about 2 to 3 different things in this situation now. We're talking about the legality of your marriage. We're talking about the legality of your child, and we're talking about the customary marriage now. So now let me take it from the point of view of the child now. Let me start with that. Under the 1999 Constitution, there is no child called illegal child.
Wow, that's good.
Every child, it's a legal child.
Yeah.
Even your first child
Yes.
is legal. There is nothing like illegal child. There is no form of discrimination that should come to any child because of the situation with which he or she was given birth to in Nigeria. That's one. So every father should father his child in terms of taking care of the child and all that. And I know that we have a lot of routes in Nigeria where children, mothers are being taken care of. Apart from NGOs, we have the Ministry for Women Affairs. They do a lot with that. Even in the law profession, we have something called FIDA.
FIDA, yeah.
Yes, they
I
do
hear
a lot
about
of these
them.
cases free. And then I don't know, but I've heard about, they call it welfare. I don't know what they do. They have never been, I don't know their operations, but I know that people have also gotten justice from such situations. And I think it's just a fallout from human rights
Yes.
too. Now, but your situation is so fun. I'm sorry I'm saying that because I know that marriage is a contract. And two people come into agreement. And when you even say contract, literally you're saying a binding agreement. That was why when she asked that question, it was very relevant to me. That was there a quarrel? Did you guys talk? Did you guys date? Because if you've gone through dating and all that, you've agreed that we should be together. Then if you've agreed, we're just trying to make this legal, our agreement, because we can as well just go and start living together. But we just want to make it legal and all that. So now there are a lot of, in fact, if you don't sue him under the family law, if you don't sue him under the Matrimonial Causes Act, you can sue him in contract. You can sue him. And also, that's why I asked the question when you were talking that, what kind of document were you given at the Anglican Church? Because if it is a legal document and he signs a fake, that's perjury. That's the lot of issues.
I had to go back to the church.
Yes.
And that was what the officiating priest said. He said, no, the Anglican Church doesn't stand by
this.
It's nullified.
Yes.
We
It's
know.
just I said ab initio,
nullified
it was,
it in the church.
the marriage was void ab
Yes.
initio. And I said it that you cannot put something on nothing. You cannot even say you were ever married.
Yeah.
As far as we're concerned, you were just with someone and it ended the way it ended. There are a lot of ways to get what you want. Apparently, you are not even interested in getting anything from this guy. Okay, so when we do divorce cases, the women sometimes, and let me tell you, for real, the law supports, or the law has been helping women.
Oh, that's
So-
very good.
There are situations where you bring this kind of case to the court, and the judge says, no, we're not going to talk about this in public. It's not everyone that has the confidence and the boldness to open up about their stories.
Yeah.
And that's a good one, and I really give you kudos.
Thank you.
Now, so the judges say, no, we don't need to spill this in open court, because of course the court is for everyone. Let's go into chambers or just agree on what you want. Before we came into this session, I told you that I've done some cases of divorce, and then the judge just advises her, two of you sit together, what do you want, what don't you want, let's do it, and then we just make it a divorce. And it doesn't even take time. 1-2 sessions, we are done with it.
Yeah.
And also, for lying to you in the presence of your family, there are witnesses there. You can pick him up on that.
Wow.
There's a lot. I believe your story is not even a divorce story.
It's not.
Your story should be someone that misrepresented, deceived you. And I would ask, to what end?
I think the relationship was fraught with a lot of
Fraud.
Yeah.
fraudulent issues from the start. And just as I said at the beginning of this podcast, there were lots of cracks
Yes.
in the foundation.
There was no foundation, ma.
There was not even there was
There
no
was no
foundation.
foundation,
Well,
you know.
So going forward, there is a lot of misconception about divorce, about especially divorced women. About divorced women, what part of the misconception would you like to correct?
Now, just because she's divorced doesn't mean she's a bad person. Because there's usually that talk of if you couldn't keep a man or if you couldn't stay in a man's house, it's because there's something wrong with you. No, there's nothing wrong with you. That's one misconception we have to correct.
Yeah.
Also,
Happen.
like I said at the beginning, that there's something, two people come together because they have an agreement and they want to legalize it and all that. there's this side of the story that we all try to look at, that, oh, the lady is the problem. You understand? We always look at the lady because, let's go spiritual now. The Bible says a woman builds, a wise woman builds her home and all that. But in your situation, there is no home.
There was no home.
In fact, I don't want to use words because it was never. There was nothing. And your when you talked about the problem, you were the kind of psychological diagnosis. It wasn't even going to work because you were just trying, like we said, there's no foundation, you're not building anything. You were just trying to work out something in a relationship.
Wow. Well, we're trying to bring this podcast to an end, but I wouldn't want us to leave without asking you what was the major support system you had in your journey to healing? Because obviously you have healed, just like you said, and we know that there are so many women out there that are hurting and they would like to hear you. What was your best support system in your journey towards healing?
My brother's wife.
Wow.
Yes. She would call me, she would encourage me, she would remind me.
If you watch this program, Hazel's brother's wife, we give you kudos.
Yeah.
Thank you for supporting Hazel to heal. Yeah. We need more of Hazel's brother's wife among women.
And she's an
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my brother's wife, and I think the other support was my daughter. As strange as it might sound, the moment I held that little girl in my arms as a baby, I knew I had to be better for her.
Oh, that's good. Thank you so much, Hazel, for coming on this program. Thank you for agreeing to share your story. I know that this story will go out there to heal some broken hearts, to heal some troubled spirits that are going through similar situations. If you're going through a situation of a divorce, you're not a bad person. And it is not as if it's solely your fault. It's not. It may not be your fault. Don't beat yourself. Look for support systems. Don't keep quiet. Look for people that you can talk to, that you can share with, that you can confide in. And please, women, if a woman cries out to you, don't make her discussion a topic for gossip, among others. Please let's learn to keep each other's secret. Barrister Ebon, thank you so much for coming on this program. Thank you, because you have thrown so much light into the legal part. We don't really have a lot of time, but I would have really wanted you to come back on this program.
I'm ready to come back.
I want you to come back on this program because you need to throw more light on what is done to, what legal opportunities are there for women who want to go through the legal mean. Is there any place where they can get free legal services?
Yeah, that's why I mentioned freedom.
So I will want you to throw more light on that. But thank you. Oh, you want to say something? A parting word from Hazel?
Yes. Also, like besides my sister-in-law, I also have a best friend who I talk to.
All right.
Now she's my best friend. I call her my sister in adversity. We met in the convent. So we kind of have the same story, and she's still my friend till today.
I think that your convent story, we have to come back
to it
to talk about it.
So she's another support system I had. So like she said, please get you support systems. You're not an island. You need it. You need your sisters, particularly. Yes. And thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you so much for listening. Here at Echoes with Flo, we want to say thank you so much for subscribing to our channels. We're going to be airing this on our YouTube channels. And if you have not subscribed, the link will be on our Instagram and Facebook page. You can get to us and subscribe to our channels. And from all of us at Echoes with Flo, thank you so much for watching.
Thank you. Thank you.